Just say if this MasterCard symbol was an addition problem, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Let's just say the red is a 2 and the yellow is a 2. The red circle is equivalent to 2 and the yellow circle is equivalent to 2. Well, our answer, when 2 plus 2 come together, they would make 4. It would be in the middle, just like you see here. When you bring things together, the sum of those things is always at the center. When you bring all of the corners of a pyramid together, a peak is created in a direct center of the pyramid. The peak is the seal, the great seal. And you see why it's called a seal. When you look at a pyramid from the top view, the peak is in the center. What I told you about your woman's peak. Her peak is in the center of her legs, called a vagina. Where the peak on a pyramid is the climax. It just means the sum or the summit. The peak of 2 plus 2 is 4. That's why it's called the answer. That's the climax. Think of a man and woman having sex. What is the climax? The end part. The orgasm that happens. So it's this peak, this climax, this summit, this revelation. It's a concept. This peak, if we look at a pyramid here from a top view, this peak is also the great seal, the royal crest. This would be the equivalent of looking at Nut from the top view. The pyramid is the cosmos. And if you think of Nut as a pyramid and Geb as the earth plane, you see that this pyramid from the top view resembles something called an envelope. And what you do with an envelope is you lick it and you seal it. Pyramid top view resembles an envelope or a seal. Why is an envelope called an envelope? And why do we say we're sealing it in the back? Because where you're licking that envelope, that's where the great center of the earth is. The tip of this thing where you lick at to seal this envelope, that's X marks the spot. And you can see you got 2 hourglasses that's creating the seal, or what's called a Masonic bow tie. When you get an hourglass vertical and an hourglass horizontal, it's a spiral, or the Milky Way. The Milky Way don't exist. They're taking this ancient concept I'm showing you now and corrupting it. If you take a seal, or for example, this in front of you, if you take an X and you put that X inside of a circle or a square and you start spinning it, you'll create a spiral. When you spin an X, you create a spiral. I'm saying this because you don't live in the Milky Way galaxy. You live in the earth heart, and at the center is a hole. Just like at the center here, it's where X marks the spot, the bull's eye. This alignment that's happening 23rd, this is when the arrow is going to be shot into the middle of the target, meaning that you're going to have a linear alignment of these planetary bodies. When we talk about a seal, it's a bond. It's a covenant. Remember the Ark of the Covenant? It's the arch of the covenant, meaning the sky goddess Nut, who's making that arch with her back, and she's bending her, making the arch like this pyramid. From a top view, we can see she is the great seal. I brought that up to say that when you say seal, it's S-E-A-L, because that's what you do to the envelope. You seal the envelope with your spit. But when you say seal, it's also C-I-E-L, dealing with sealing, dealing with the roof of your house. So why is the roof of your house called a sealing? And also something that bonds a covenant is called a great seal or a sealing, because the covenant resides in a woman. Remember that the arch that her stomach make is the roof for the baby. Your first house when you came to this earth was the inside of your mama's womb. That was your home. She created an arch over your head with her body, and her was the door that you walked out of. So the woman builds a house for the baby with the very fabric of her flesh. She builds a dwelling. And when the baby is ready to go, then the mama opened up the front door and you see that sunlight. And boy, you go out there and you smell the trees and you can hear the laughter. But it wasn't until you clinked that room In other words, you got to dedicate 9 months of transitioning in the womb, because the body that's being made in the womb of the woman is being housed by the mother's body. But the purpose of the womb is for the baby to create his own house, for the spirit to come into the womb and build a house. So once the spirit builds a stable house for itself in the womb of the mother with her assistance, it now can leave her house and leave dock. It's like a ship, right, that lets its anchor up and goes out to sea. You don't have to be anchored to your mama no more. So they cut the umbilical cord, or the anchor, the ankh. They cut that because you have now formed your mini cosmos, or your ankh, in the womb. The seal is the peak, and the bond, the sealing. Remember, Nut is the covenant, the arch of the covenant. She promising us that she gonna protect us on this earth, and that them stars is balanced. Ain't no meteors, ain't no comets, ain't no Nibiru gonna come crashing to us. Because when you look at the sky goddess Nut, she telling you she got the stars in her body. When you was a baby inside of your mama belly, you didn't ask your mama, is the belly stable? You didn't even have a thought about stability. You was inside of your mama belly just thinking about growing up, making it here, and coming out of the womb. You went inside of your mama belly thinking about, what if her stomach crash on me? What if her belly ain't got a proper roof on it? You knew that your mama's body was stable. You was a baby in her womb, and you didn't question the stability of the dwelling that she provided for you, being the arch of her stomach. Now you leave the belly of your mama and you enter the earth like Gay up here. He's still inside of the belly. Yes, he's a grown man who left the belly of his mama, but he's in the belly of the earth. He's dependent now on the earth. So when you in the belly of your mama, it's the spirit entering that dual state. See, Neith is night. She the same thing Nut doing. Here goes some art that'll show you what I was saying about how the sun actually makes its transit through the body of Nut. I used to say that was the sun. I take it back now. That's Aldebaran. That's what we're calling Nibiru. You see Nut, you see a red ball by her mouth, and you see this red ball by her womb. That's Nibiru. It's the planet of the crossing. They call it Planet X because it goes through her body. It goes through the seal or the ceiling. Nibiru is called a ninth planet because 9 represents the spiral or the feminine. When you say feminine, she's the feminine because she represents the spiral energy, the curvy energy, the sine wave that was cursed and called sin. So when you look at Nut from the top view, you can see she's the great seal that envelops the entire cosmos. Now this is called an envelope for that reason. If you think of the word envelope, if you envelop something, you encompass that entire thing. And when you say the word encompass, all compasses point to the great mother. She encompasses the whole cosmos. She envelops the entire earth. So an envelope is something you seal, and I just showed you when you dealing with an envelope how just sending out mail is a form of a ritual dealing with as above so below. I keep telling y'all, everything we do is symbolic. You get 4 pie slices with that envelope, and keep that envelope in your mind. That's the top view of a pyramid. Where you seal it at represents the great seal or the arch of the covenant, and your spit, your DNA is what bonds the envelope. Nut represents the DNA. Remember Neith? Neith is Nut. What was Neith? She was a symbol that looked like DNA or string theory. DNA is the string theory. It's woven together like a perfect braid. And when you look at the number 8, it's the hourglass or the DNA, a perfect braid. I showed you a picture of the sun making its transit inside of Nut's body. I keep calling that little reddish orange object the sun, but that's actually the second sun. That's what they're calling Nibiru. And the reason we don't always see it is because what you see in this art. Nibiru enters a portal. Where does Nibiru come and go from? Well, me personally, I believe that just like in our reality, we got all of these streets and blocks and highways, but sometimes we can take a shortcut through an alley. When you turn off of a main road into an alley, you disappear. And guess what happens? You pop out on another side of a main road. If somebody didn't know that there was a shortcut there, they would say, where the hell did you just come from? But if you look at this art here, Nibiru never left us. What we're calling Nibiru is Aldebaran, and it was called something different by the ancestors. You know, you can research that, but it's a reddish orange thing. We see it all over Kemetic art, and it's something that the scarab beetle is dragging along the desert. And in Kemet, we worship this scarab beetle. In fact, when you say scarab, you hear the word Arab in it. We know that the Arabs or the Arabs are the people who have a lot of this knowledge of the genie. The genie is the Genesis. Remember, the Genesis is the first book of the Bible. But who is the genie? If Genesis is the first book of the Bible and the word Genesis come from the genie, who is the genie? The word genie comes from an ancient concept called Nagini. And a Nagini is a half person, half snake. This is an example of a Nagini. The synonym equivalent to Nagini would be mermaid. So we love the mermaid. The Moors say that they originated from a mermaid. But if you look at the Moorish fairs, it's the beehive of the bee goddess. And what the Moors originate from is the great mother, where we all originate from. Everyone traced their origin stories back to a fish creature, a reptile people, snake people, some serpent woman, a fish woman, because this is all symbolic of the waters above Nut. The waters that's in the pregnancy of a woman. Waters move in waves just like the snake. So the woman and the water are synonymous. And the man is synonymous with fire. The Nagini is who? The genie, the Genesis, the one who has the genes because she got the mitochondrial DNA. She's the lineage. The genie, the Nagini, is Ketu, the bride. If you see here, her tail would be the long wedding dress, and her queen's crown would be the veil. So the bride wears a veil and she has a tail. And you see this in a lot of superheroes. For example, Batman wear a veil and have a cape for a tail. But if you look up a deity called Ketu, Ketu is the Vedic equivalent of the dragon, or the veil and the tail, the one that covers its head with the veil but drags the tail. And that's the woman. The woman isn't head heavy. She thinks more with her intuition and inner soul, inner being. The man is head heavy. We're Rahu, and the woman is Ketu. Therefore, the woman is not the head, but that was flipped today, where they actually removed the woman from the head of the household. She's not the head, but she called the shots. When I say she called the shots, she makes the law. Man then go and enforces the law. So fire will burn you when you pollute the water. Water is the law. It's the rhythm of the feminine, of the mother. You look at water and fire being polarities, even when you think of red and blue. If you got something worth saying, say it like the lion you are. And women, if you got something worth saying, say it like a woman, because I don't want to hear women yelling like me. Each role can be the best it can be if it stick to its role. Women will hear you louder if you spoke softer. And women will hear you louder if you talk like a man. All right, this is what compassion gives you. But what is compassion? Compass. For you to have compassion, you got to have a compass, a moral compass, pointing you to the great mother within yourself, the dark part of you that's merciful, that's understanding, that's caring. So Ketu is the equivalent of the Nagini, the genie, and it grants your wishes because your third eye literally shapes your reality for you. What you think with the third eye mirrors itself. She gonna give you what you put out. I just want to show you how it's all the devil. People say, Brother Sanchez, you worship the devil, boy, you gonna go to hell. I tell them, you right about me worshiping the devil, but we all already in hell. So what do you mean? Worshiping the devil didn't get me in hell. Worshiping the devil was gonna get us in heaven. Worshiping the devil is paying homage to Mother Nature. It ain't the devil, it's the diva. They took a Vedic word and put an L on it, and now you don't even know the truth. Go on Google and put in diva, D-E-V-A. You gonna get some tabs in the top that say what kind of diva you looking for. Click on Buddhism or Hinduism, and you gonna get this. These are called Davas or Divas, and they became devils today, y'all. And all they are divine women. These are protectors of devils. You see the weapons in their hands? Like I told you, men, we are law enforcers. She create the policy, we police it. We're the police, she the lawmaker, she the judge, she wear the robe. But all our job is to enforce her law. Now the world is in chaos and it's lawless because man can't. We weren't made, men, to write laws. We're competitive. And the fact that men are writing the law today and the law is more corrupted than anything, prove my point. You don't have a law system today. Crooks giving you the law. Like I said, you're not in civilization. Civilization ended in the pre-dynasty area. We've been in the New World Order for the past 7,000 years, and it's ending at this time. We're going back to the old world with the goddesses. So all of this gay stuff and energy and the feminism, it's symbolic. The goddess is returning on all levels, but they're manipulating the energy by turning it into some transsexual movement. So understand the psyop here. All of this tie into the space program because they're attacking the space of the womb. They're attacking the babies in the womb, the creative space where you even being formed in between these lifetimes. They know this stuff. The reason all of this stuff happened with the population control and attacking us on a massive scale at the same time as a big abortion rate and ways to prevent pregnancy is because they trying to annihilate our cosmic code. They're trying to take the infinity part of you away. They know when you die, you come back. So what they're trying to do is bunch of us and then close the gateway by turning the women into transsexuals, making them sterile, making the womb desecrated. So they got everything, C-sections, pregnancy pills, homoality to keep these spirits from coming into this earth realm. Always remember what I told you, that the devil is the divas. They're trying to stop us from experiencing our reality by closing the womb. What I told you, that the open tomb is the open womb. If a woman got her legs shut, you can't impregnate her and then create new life. They shut the woman's leg when they desecrated Eve in the garden, y'all. What happened in Genesis was the lineage of humanity when it came to the biblical perspective, at least, because what happened in Genesis was a new world order on a Christian form. See, the big new world order started in Kemetic, but after that, when you had a bunch of societies having their own little, for lack of better words, civil new world orders. But the original concept of the new world order that started in Kemetic started the new world that encompasses the entire earth. Now, there are many orders within that order, which goes into what I'm telling you now. Each religion is an order within the New World Order, or a different way to sell the main New World Order to you. In other words, Masons do acknowledge the great architect, or they do acknowledge the mother. The Pope acknowledged the mother, the Madonna. But what they do is hide that acknowledgement for you. So remember that the open tomb is the open womb, and when they close this tomb, that's it for us. They're trying to close the gateway. They call these people archons. A lot of people say you got to be careful about these archons, but it ain't no doggone archons. NASA the archons, your government the archons. These are the ones who stand in between you and the arch. What's the arch? The feminine, the mother, Nut. They didn't teach you about Nut. The only arch that they taught you about was the Ark of the Covenant, and they linked that to their male deities. But the arch belonged to the woman. Everybody know that the woman got the most arches. She's the curvy one. So when they give the man the arch and they take Geb from off of the ground, because Geb laid down flat, representing the Horus energy, the horizontal energy, the masculine. Men, we are the masculine. Females, you are the feminine. The 9 is the spiral. That's the beginning of it all. So when you hear some dumb Kemetic cat walk up to you talking about some 9 ether, tell him he don't know what he talking about. If you hear somebody say 9 ether, you ought to bust out laughing, because the 9 is a spiral. That means a cycle. That's why after 9, the numbers repeat themselves. Women, you are the feminine. Men, you are the masculine. Women, you are Nut with the arch. Men, you are Geb laid out flat. The feminine is the spiral of life. She's the feminine, and all of things have to assume this position in creation. Even you, when you in your mama belly, you're a 9. You balled up, and everything start off feminine before it become masculine. The women, they never become masculine, they just stay feminine. I think that's something that happened in the womb with the male that makes us become a male. But when you think about the women, they're unchanged. So when they say we're made in the image of the Most High, no one is made as a direct reflection of that image as women. So that's what made me know for a fact that the Most High is a feminine entity. The darkness holds the light therein. The 0 has all of the numbers in it. When I say that all there is a divine mother, that means the male too. You see, one way you can compliment a child is by telling the mother she did a good job, and the child get the same compliment. The number 9 isn't a number, it's a symbol that simply means a spiral. And after 9, everything repeats itself and become repetitive. The numbers start 0, 1, and after 9 you go 1, 0. Because 9 is the spiral, it's the cycle. The line is the opposite of a spiral. It doesn't bend. So why am I telling you this? Bend versus non-bend is masculine versus feminine. This is what they're telling you here. When you say the binary code is 1 and 0. It's bend and non-bend. Nut is 0 or X, the unknown, the darkness. Geb is 1, the linear. You can't even draw a 1 on a paper without making a dot first, because soon as your ink pen touches the paper, you make a dot. Then you make a stroke. That stroke is the strike. So when you make a dot on that paper, that's 0. When you make a stroke and make that line, that's 1. But you can never ever do anything linear without making a point of reference, a black hole, dot. Every piece of art starts with a simple dot when the pen or the paintbrush first touch the board, the canvas. You cannot escape that point of singularity. Everything there is started from a dot. She is the dot. The W is a hieroglyph for the wings. And what you get is 2 triangles pointed down and one in the middle pointed up as a result of that polarity. It's always a summation of a polarity. So the summation of Nut and Geb would be all of the light that exists because of it. The summation of the 2 coming together would be the structure that they both create, and that they couldn't make the structure alone. You would have Nut, which is darkness, acknowledging nothingness, or what would have potentially been Geb. Geb exists even when you don't see him, because the fact that he can come into existence proves that he has an infinite seed, or the idea predates the physical product that the idea come from. So it's kind of tricky. We exist and we don't exist. We basically the creator talking to itself in darkness, like they said, like a nutcase. But a nutcase is a nut case. Remember, nut. Aldebaran is nothing to be scared of. It's our second son. The ancients talked about it all the time. They said it's a time of renewal when you see that our world are merging with sister and brother worlds, because there are parts of this plane we're not connected to because of these government treaties. But the people we're disconnected from, who may be getting brainwashed like us on other parts of the earth, we are all connected by these celestial events. So if there are different lands on the other part of the ice ring and they're being lied to like we are, when these celestial events happen, then the lie is exposed, because they get to see our sun and we get to see their sun, and we ask questions like, hey, who's over there? Where's that sun? And they looking at our sun asking the same. Like, are there people over there? Of course, their government is probably telling them that sun is Nibiru and it's 100 million miles away. But really, we all close. The celestial objects such as the sun and moon, they all have to come past the Great Mother. And that's how we get the word compass. And this is what you see in this picture in front of you. You see everything coming past the Great Mother. Remember, she's the envelope because she's the seal or the sealing. And she envelops the entire cosmos. In other words, Nut is the outline. And anyone who's an expert at sacred geometry like myself, I consider myself an expert at sacred geometry. You would know that sacred geometry is nothing but outlining symbols to reveal their shadow. And I give you an experiment you can do on your own. If you're a Christian, take the Christian cross and outline the points, and you will get something called a crest shield. What predates the object is revealed when you outline that object, because the act of outlining something is revealing it or exposing the shadow. When light shines on you, it reveals your outline as a dark object called a shadow. So things aren't revealed in light, they're revealed in darkness when you shut your eyes and start using your noodle. And that's what we're up against today. We don't think. So we got to pay people to think for us, and now they're attacking us. Now they preying off of our ignorance and stupidity. We don't go outside and look at nature. We let somebody tell us what's happening. If we knew about Aldebaran being a second son, we wouldn't always look at these hieroglyphs and say, hey, that's the sun. If you look in the middle, a lot of Kemetic folks tell you that this orange object is the sun. But our sun ain't orange. Our sun yellow. This sun that we gonna see on the 23rd is actually orange. And that's how you get the color for Halloween. Because you're gonna be seeing this orange sun in a black sky up against a silvery white moon and white lights. And you're gonna be seeing orange, black. You're actually gonna be seeing orange, yellow, black, and white. The colors of harvest. We are entering harvest equinox or harvest time. And I think that that's very important to point out, because if you think about the word harvest dealing with the crops, and think about something that destroyed the crops, was what? Harvey. You think they named the hurricane Harvey because they like the doggone name Harvey? Wake up and smell the coffee. They told you in the book of Revelation, before shit hits the fan, the crops and the food supply gonna be attacked. And that's what's gonna eventually cause the famines later. It's your government acting like they God. They use weaponized weather to destroy a fertile area called a delta. And they use a technology called a Thor delta. Thor is a god that controls weather. Delta was the area that was attacked. Follow my videos on Stennis and the rest of them. Catch up with us. Hurricane Harvey is what initiated these hurricanes that's still going on now. And they're going to get worse and worse as we enter what's called a trial and tribulation period. Now, this was a period where we saw hella balance on earth. The ancestors said this was the most peaceful and balanced time on the earth. In fact, they made a movie about it called When the Earth Stands Still, because during this alignment, it's going to appear like all of the luminaries are still when they line up. The ground you walk on is stationary. The ground beneath your feet don't move, but you move around on top of it. So you are the movement in between the ground and the sky. We're the meat of the sandwich. The earth is called a meeting ground. This is where all of the souls in the cosmos meet up. Ain't nowhere else to exist because X marks the spot. Other than that, it's just darkness. You don't exist. There's no such thing as you existing in a spiritual state or a non-physical state. When you lead a body, the part of you that lead a body is still physical. Air is physical. Light is physical. It's just less dense. Your spirit is composed of earth elements that your body needed to keep your body alive. What you think your spirit made out of spirit? Well, what is that? How do you find spirit on a periodic table? Spirit is a substance that is the foundation of all matter. So spirit is the equivalent of just pure darkness. And there's different forms of spirit, just like there's different forms of water. There's different stages of water. It can be ice. It can be gas. I always tell you, it's not where you go when you die. It's what you become. What you become ultimately determines where you go. Just like air, when you put it in the water, it goes up because air is lighter than water. So if your spirit is light, then you go where you need to go because there's nothing holding you back from where you shouldn't be. If there's a magnetic center to the earth that pulls all the light objects and attracts them there, then that's exactly what's going to happen to your light soul. Why you think the Kemetics told you got to be light as a feather to make it to the transition process? If you heavy, you can't ascend. Only gas can escape, and gas is ghost. They're synonyms. The word gas is ghost. So that's why I say spirit is nothing but the wind in your lungs. You inhaled it when you came onto the earth. You're going to exhale that spirit when you leave. And the air that you've been inhaling in your lungs is going to become back one with the air that's been blowing on you all your life, giving you a beautiful breezy day. It's not your air. When you came here, you didn't have no air in your lungs. You sucked in air that was here before you got here. When you came from your mama womb, you sucked in air. When you leave, you got to give it back. But it ain't going nowhere. The reason you got to blow it out and inhale it back again out the death is because you're moving it from one body to the next. This body ain't nothing but a book. It's a cosmic code. It's DNA. Don't you know DNA is like a novel? It can be read. You read it. When this body go in the ground, the cosmic code, when it turns to dust, all of your DNA turns to dust. And it marries the dirt of the earth. And the memory of who you were and everything you learned and everything becomes back one with the earth. The earth knows everything you learn. When you learn something, the earth learn it. We're one body. We're the creator experiencing its creation. So when you exhale your last breath, you inhale your first breath in a new body. And it's kind of like throwing a pass to yourself. You are doing all of this. You are subconsciously destroying and recreating yourself, and this is called infinity. You subconsciously destroy yourself because everything we do, whether you're a good person or bad person in this life, will ultimately determine how you leave. Even if you was a saint, you're going to leave here for something that you did that you was passionate about. I know beautiful old women, man, they was so nice, they didn't do nothing wrong. But they died because they liked a certain food. Don't you know too much water can kill you? Yes, but you needed to live. So you ultimately leave here when you've exhausted your passion. When you've reached the climax, your body starts shutting down. Now, of course, mishaps happen and people get shot in the head and you get sudden deaths. But you don't leave here till the body is done. And then the body create a new covenant with a new mother and they have a new mission. The dung beetle that's rolling the egg in Kemetic is a form of Aldebaran or Nibiru coming again. And the open tomb being the open womb. is the dung beetle rolling the egg, is the tomb that's being rolled. There was a famous rock band called the Rolling Stones, and they knew something that you didn't know. There's a form of music called rock and roll, and it's because of what you're looking at now. It's because of that Rolling Rock. There's a beer company called Rolling Rock. Don't you understand how important this is? They're giving you the science, what I'm giving you, in different symbols, micro and macro. So the Rolling Stone or the Rolling Rock is what you're looking at now. It's the MasterCard. It's the womb of the woman that opens and closes and allows for all of us to be coming on this earth. And it's the darkness of her womb that ties in all of our lifetimes. All of your previous lifetimes that you don't remember are sandwiched in between the wombs of a woman, in between her legs, in between you coming from in between her legs, in between these different lifetimes. You come from in between her legs, and you come from another lifetime, and you headed to another one. So you always in between, or present, or serpent, or in the now. You can't escape the now. Even if you die right now, you will enter a new now, and we'll still be having this conversation on YouTube, the rest of us. If one of you die right now, wherever you is perceiving the moment these eyes close and new ones open, you're on your own time clock. We're on our own time clock. There is no time. It's just you creating your time. None of you was born at the same time. None of your footprints gonna create the same pattern on this earth, and none of you leaving at the same time. None of you gonna see the same stuff when you come or when you leave. You're a personal creator. You came with your own self-governing religion that you gave away to become just another number. And this is why no one can find themselves, and nature can't even be restored. So the Rolling Stone is the Vesica Pisces, the Kananga, the new moon, and the full moon, the gateway and the journey. Because remember, the egg don't go nowhere. The egg sits in the darkness of the woman's womb, and it's stationary. It attracts the sperm to it. You say, how does sperm know how to find the egg in darkness? It's called magnetism. It's not using sight. It's using compassion. And this is how we find the center. This is how we find the center of the earth. If you got compassion for a woman, you always find her spirit. Y'all always find each other mentally and spiritually. The moment you can't find a person, y'all don't see eye to eye. You won't make it. Everything we do is dependent on us understanding masculine and feminine. When you look at the linear parts of the ankh, they're linear. When you look at the top of the ankh, it's curvy. Why the curvy part at the top? Because we're in a matriarch family. Our ancestors knew that. The darkness don't need the light. The light need the darkness to shine. And before anything existed, there was the darkness. And that's what the book of Genesis is telling you, that the lineage of humanity can be traced back to the same thing we go back to every night. Darkness. That's actually DNA. Why you think NASA say we went out there to study dark matter, and they give you pictures of this shit, and the pictures they give you of dark matter look like cells, look like DNA. Why do y'all think that darkness behind the stars is nothingness? There's no such thing as nothingness. There's energy in every inch and square inch of this cosmos. There's energy. You can't escape something. It's impossible for it to be nothing, because darkness is really all there is. And from darkness, you project your world. Just like at night when you close your eyes and dream you in the Bahamas. Where the creator is doing the same thing on a macrocosm. That is why everything you think is physical eventually disappear. All us humans gonna go to invisibility. All of us humans who you can touch and hear, we gonna disappear one day. You gonna go in the ground. Your body is gonna turn to ashes, and them ashes gonna eventually turn to nothing, or what you think is nothing, but it's really everything. Scientists tell you every day, all the time, nothing is really physical. They say everything you see is really just a bunch of atoms vibrating. Technically, you should be able to walk straight through items. And there's a lot of scientists who say that that's possible. And the reason they say that is because of the spiritual stuff I'm telling you now. You can walk through matter. The spirit can walk through matter, but not in the movies how you see a ghost walking through the wall. You walk through matter when you realize matter is mother. You become invisible. You become a less dense form of the physical to where we can't see you because you're what we call dead, but you are there. You're being recreated in the womb. So what you're doing is you're invisible and you're traveling through the walls of the woman because her has walls. Her body is a barrier. How did you end up coming from out of the ground in a casket at a cemetery to now inside of a stomach of a woman? How did the piece of you that put you in the belly of your future mother leave the grave of your past life and find itself into the body of the woman? Light is spirit. Wind is spirit. Water is spirit. So when you say a spirit realm that's made out of spirit, I laugh because spirit is made out of matter. All of the elements that keep your body living, water, wind, fire, they all exist to keep you alive. And when your body break down after death, these same elements was what your spirit was made out of. Go back to the Navy diver example I use. The Navy diver has a body of his own, but he got to create another body to go in the ocean. Think of spirit and flesh, and think of earth being like the bottom of the ocean. I can't take away your spirit and you still be here. I can't take away your body and you still be here. You're a yin-yang bond, and you're emanating from all parts of your own consciousness, spiritually, mentally, physically. That's how you even got here, because you projected yourself from one lesser dense state to the next. This is the concept of the Cupid. You'll realize through the law of attraction, your parents didn't choose you. You chose your next home yourself, just like a person looking for a new house. When you went in the ground, you look for a new mother that would be compatible, that would be reasonable to manifest your next missions in your new life. And the woman is the gateway. The open tomb is the open womb. And the reason it's always open to symbolize life. The moment the woman deny us access to the womb, no new souls and babies can come onto this plane. So this is very important. You notice that the Visa and the MasterCard has this open tomb symbolism, this Vesica Pisces. And what you get is they telling you it's the MasterCard, because like Visa telling you, you can't go nowhere without it. You wouldn't be here without your mama. You couldn't transition without Mother Nature providing the elements that even forms your soul. Everything you see comes from darkness, therefore it's not physical. Think about the Big Bang. They tell you physicality was created from nothing. I'm telling you physicality was never created. Everything is spiritual. There was never a Big Bang. It was just the creator starting a meditation. That would be a Big Bang, because from the darkness of your mind, you have an idea or you start daydreaming and boom, new thoughts. So I guess it is an explosion. So it's a Big Bang, but it didn't create physicality. It created the dream of the Most High. And the synonym for dream is realm. So nothing is physical. That's why it can't maintain its physicality. Everything you say is physical is ultimately going to go back to invisibility. Every pair of shoes you bought, every shirt you own, every smartphone, eventually it's going to break down and go back to gas or ghost. That's the least dense form of anything. The least dense form of everything is pure thought. That's the most unadulterated innocence of what you are. Pure thought. And thought encompasses all time and space. Is not limited to time. It's instant. When you have a thought, it happens when you have it. You can go to the future in your mind. You can go to the past in your mind. You can stay here and manipulate this realm with your mind, because thought is the ultimate deity that we all emanate from. That's why I say it was simply darkness. And from that darkness, the creator said, hey, let me cut the light switch on and start painting on this darkness behind my eyelids. The darkness behind your eyelids is a canvas that you paint on at night. When you go to the dream state, you are painting new worlds. I went to sleep and I went to darkness behind my eyelids, and I conjured up this college campus, and this college had a name. I don't remember it. It had college colors. There was an event going on that college campus that was a yearly event. In the dream, it was like I was always in this world. I didn't even know about Brother Sanchez till I woke back up and said, damn, that was a crazy dream. What if I would have died in my sleep? I would have been stuck in that dream. But here's the kicker. Who created it? Me. At night when you go to sleep, you create a whole nother world. You create a sky with a sun in it, with clouds in it, birds flying around, ants on the ground, other people walking around with their own life. But it's your dream. Where did they come from? You see how powerful you are? What make you think the creator ain't that powerful, and everything you seeing now is really ain't nothing but the dream of the Most High? The funniest thing about death, when it happens, everybody you was expecting to meet in the afterlife, they said you meet them in a big party and they laughing at you because the joke's on you. You live your whole life afraid of death, which makes you afraid to live. The ancestors would meet up on the astral plane. They would have ceremonies that didn't take place in this plane. This is how high-tech the ancients were. They would all come together in rooms and go to sleep and meet up in the dream state and do stuff there, like fly across the earth. People have meetings in different realms other than this physical one. And this is what the secret societies are hiding. A lot of them are experts in astral projecting, leaving the body. And they are able to make your life hell by getting acquainted with that. Any of you can be a starseed when you tap back into the mystery of the stars. There's some children who's always been obsessed with the night sky, and I was one of them. As far as back as I can remember, I've been obsessed with the night sky, the twinkling stars and the planets. And it's those people who are starseeds in the bulk of the flat earth community today. They know us more than we know ourselves. They know certain blood types and certain family bloodlines is going to lead to certain truthers. I'm convinced of that. Remember that the open tune is the master card because it's the open wound. You can't go nowhere without it. It's your visa. The word visa translates to Venus. And they tell you all the time in the Venus commercial what the woman say, I'm your Venus. And that's the female song for the Venus products. It say, I'm your Venus. Every human has to go through these veins of the woman to re-enter and exit this earth plane. You go through ventricles or vaginas. You come in here through the womb because what makes the robot be empowered is the light, the power is what turns him on and make him be a robot, start dancing. Well, the consciousness of who you are is already in your mother's egg. So it goes back to what I was trying to say. After death, when you leave this body, you go to a dual state. And instead of you existing as the yin and yang, you start existing as the yin and yang in separate states. In these separate states, their only mission is to reunite. So what happens is when you leave this body, you break the bond that bonded the spirit with the flesh, the left with the right, the masculine with the feminine, left brain, right brain. And there's nothing there. There's not a point of reference there or a vessel to hold the two. So the two separate, they split. And what happens is the left brain masculine side of you, the life spark, goes to the scrotum of your future daddy. And the consciousness, intuitive, right brain, feminine part of you was already duplicated in the cosmic egg of your future mama. At that point, through the law of attraction, you are trying to marry yourself, and you are a Cupid, or what they call the apples in your daddy eye. And you the reason your parents meet. You the reason your mama met your dad, because you wanted to come here. The Cupid concept, how you wielded yourself back into creation, law of attracting with your mom and daddy. Because when you leave this body, you exist in a dual state. Even if your father hadn't met your mama yet, they will meet and manifest you back here, and it ain't gonna be because of them, it's because of your will. Who you are is simply a code, and that code can be translated to your fingerprint or your DNA on a physical, biological level. But even after then, who you are is a spiritual code, a mathematical equation that whenever this combination is aligned, you appear on earth. You're born. When your number is called, you leave here, and when your number is called, you come here. So you are a number. You're a cosmic code. There are many copies and versions of you. Who you can be when you're not here can exist in a million different people. Your consciousness, what makes you you, can occupy more than one egg of one woman. The possibility of you coming into existence is almost like a guarantee, because there are infinite possibilities based on there being an infinite number of women who can have an infinite number of eggs inside of them. Man producing millions amount of sperm cells per minute. It's just duplicates. The parents you occupy when you transition it, you choose them because y'all already are a spiritual family. None of us are separate. You are that creator in the flesh having an experience as a human. So what you experiencing, you ain't experiencing alone. If you have a bad day, the creator had a bad day as you. But if your brother have a good day, the creator had a good day as your brother. That's the beauty of the creator. The creator ain't limited to no part of the creation. The creator is experiencing its creation as the water in the ocean, while at the same time experiencing its creation from the perspective of a butterfly, where at the same time experiencing its creation from the perspective of the doggone cocoon that gave birth to the butterfly. The creator is a cloud while also being the breath you inhaling. The creator is a rose while also roaring in the jungle as a lion. And none of these creations is separate from the creator, because they all come from its mind, which is really the only thing that exists, the thought. You're really in darkness right now. When I told you that Neith envelops the entire cosmos, she's represented by darkness. She envelops everything else. If darkness is the foundation of all light, if darkness is the foundation of everything you perceive colorful and physical, then all of those things don't exist. They just an illusion that you create from the darkness. Think about it. You could go outside and pick up a rose, but you can't go outside and pick up some darkness. That's because darkness is the seed of everything you perceive or pick up. She envelops the entire cosmos. She's the envelope, the compass that all souls come past, Alpha and Omega, because she envelops the entire thing. She exists as the outer barrier and the inside of you, because darkness is on the inside of you and on outside of you. Darkness is the sandwich between all realities and everything that create the reality. So it's the string theory. It's the daily bread. And the rolling stone is the MasterCard. The womb is synonymous to the darkness. I told you this is the daily bread. Remember, it shapes like a loaf of bread. This is Neith. Bread is a holy food. This is why we eat bread during religious ceremonies. The daily bread and the bread being holy. You know, when you deal with bakery foods, they have names like angel food cake, devil food cake, croissant. The croissant is the cross saint. That's the anchor. If you look at a croissant, for example, a croissant is a crescent. And what is the crescent? The moon crest. The moon crest is also the bitten apple. Y'all see how we get to this world that we in today? They cursed the woman in mythology, y'all. The bitten apple used to be the moon crest. This predates all religions. This is the Losel Venus. And you can see in her hand is the moon crest. Later became the bull horn or the ball horn or the bell horn because you worship the goddess by ringing bells. So here is what happened. This, what you looking at, predates the Garden of Eden. This is a goddess called a Venus goddess. And again, the word Venus means venues. Venus is a venue. Venus is Venus. Venus is venues. And nothing can take place without a venue. A venue is a place where an event takes place. Your mother's womb was the venue by which you used to come here. A venue is a stage that you use to perform the event on. Without a venue, there is no show. Without a gateway, you can't enter the house. I don't care if the house is big and beautiful. If it ain't no door on it, how do you get in it? There has to be a venue, a gateway, a Venus, a Venus. Venue or ven. You need to get the root word ven in your head, because something that's venerable is holy. And ven is the root word of Venus, vindication, or even a vendor. Venerable is holy. A venereal disease is a disease dealing with the woman's vagina. And the word Venus is how we get words like vein, because a vein is a canal and a vein is really a Venus or a vagina. So a Venus is a Venus, a venues. The women are our Venus. They are a vortex, our gateway. And that's all a Venus is, a venue. So this goddess called a Venus, she has in her hand the moon crest. And the moon crest is a synonym for the bull horn. It's not a loud noise. It's a revelation. Just like they tell you in the Bible. And it ain't going to be no loud trumpets blowing. It's going to be like what you see with the goddess here when she blow the bull horn. It lines everything up. Ma'at. And that alignment happens on the 23rd. So the bull horn is the moon crest, and it's not necessarily a sound. Even though the bell horn does make a sound, the original sound was the most subtle sound that you got to have the best hearing on earth to hear. And it's a whisper from the Most High. When the Most High whisper to you, you don't hear nothing, even though it's a sound. Thought is a sound. And I just told you that the Most High is pure thought. So when the Most High talk to you, the Most High speak directly to your mind via thought, which is the most silent sound, the quickest sound. It don't have to travel. Thought travels faster than any other sound that you have to say. By the time our words reach you, that thought already in your brain. So thought is instant. There is no time by which thought travel. It's immediate. Thought is the equivalent of present or serpent. Memory would be the past and speculation would be the future. But critical thinking would be the present that allowed you to have control over the past and the future. So the now is really a gift or a present. Because if you present, that's a gift that you owe to your mama and a feminine aspect. There was a time in history, or should I say her story, where man rebelled against that, and we turned on the divine womb, we turned on our mothers, and the first wars on this earth was gender wars. Nobody talk about that. They start you off with Egypt as the beginning of civilization. They don't tell you how we left the pre-dynasty to get to the age of dynasties where men rule over us. They don't tell you that how the women was being burnt to the crosses and the women was being tortured, and how, man, listen, the worst thing you can think of that can happen to a human body happened to what they call the early witches of the pre-dynasty era. Women, all of you would have been considered witches. If you stepped outside and you looked too good during this time, they would burn you alive. I don't know if y'all know, but getting burnt alive is the worst way, one of the worst ways you can leave here. And it was the number one common way that they killed women. Women, your Holocaust have been written out of history. Women, I was born to be your enforcer. Women, I am here to serve you. I am your son. I am your brother, and I will lay my life down to restore your story that was taken away during the time on this earth when our ego got bent out of control. The grandmother ruled the village. She forbade us to hunt the animals on the earth. And we see that the New World Order started when we started hunting the animals. We see that time change when the diets of the human change. This is why time is separated by lifestyle habits. When you go and look up history, it's separated by the actions of humans. You have the hunter and gatherer age. You have just the hunter age, what I think we in today. And you have the plant-based age. Time is separated by what we ate. And our diet has everything to do with our divinity. All of your health is interwoven, mental, physical, and spiritual. The gateway to your spiritual and mental health is through your physical health. You are what you eat. So the world we see today ain't nothing we created. They fed us everything since the moment we came out of the womb, and they did it to your mama too. They gave you all evil food, all unnatural food. They took you away from sucking your mama's breast that would have gave you a respect for the feminine, and they put you on a man-made can-based product to replace your mama's breast. So now you trust man more than your mama. My grandma can heal us with home remedies, and today somebody tell you that's superstition. You better take your butt to the doctor because he a man who sounds smart. And my great grandma didn't graduate high school, but she healed all of our sicknesses. And to this day, I can't tell you what the hell she used to make. All of that magic died with our great grandmothers, but this happened in the ancient day, and those witches who was died took all of the secrets to the earth with them. All of the mysteries of the plants, all of the mysteries of the herbs. Women was being killed for this stuff. And you don't know their history because their story is not in his story. It's in their story, which is her story. There's two forms of memory from our Akashic records. You've only been given one, and that's called history. But there's another account called her story. Why would you only have history as if women don't exist? And you see history start with evil men. But her story starts with nice women who had us in the garden. Women ruled the earth in the early days because men were dependent on their gardening skills. Don't you know you wouldn't even eat meat if you couldn't season it with plants? Think about it. If I gave you a piece of steak and I didn't season it, you wouldn't like that. That let you know we was on a plant-based diet, and there's some truth to the Garden of Eden. But the Garden of Eden is really the Garden of Even, the Garden of Equality. When women ruled, they didn't send their sons to war. They worked it out. They had a system that we've never had since then. The world you live in today is the direct result of the male being in a position that the woman was supposed to be in. So when you rewind time and look for the woman's role in mythology and history, you see that it's reduced, if not altogether non-existent. But the further back you go behind the dynastic period, our deities was our mother. Oh, we had a respect for the woman like never before. Men, we are the archangels. They created these archangels in the Bible that they told you protecting the gate. Now the gate shapes like an arc. I just told you what the gate is. The gateway to heaven is between a woman's leg. Heaven is even. I keep telling y'all that the H is silent. The H is silent. Heaven is even. Even is balance. Earth is heaven. We're in heaven. But the reason we're living in hell is because we're in a matrix. And I'll expound more on that matrix in the future. The Garden of Eden was real. No animals hunted each other. No humans hunt. No flesh. Nothing ate flesh. Everything on earth was on a plant-based vegan diet. Flesh stinks. When you butchering meat, it smells bad because nature is telling you, I don't want you doing this. When you walk past an orange tree or an apple tree, the tree actually emits smells because the tree is trying to attract you to it. If you don't eat them apples and eat them oranges, don't you know the tree can't even reproduce? The tree depend on us. The humans got a symbiotic relationship with the earth, which connects us, and the trees are the connection. The tree is the Trinity. Remember that. The Ankh is the tree. It's what keeps us connected to the earth, the plants, and it's what keeps the earth connected to us. So just like the bees are attracted to the flower because that flower shot out a pheromone, and that bee needs that nectar. So the bee go and smell that, it's attracted to that flower, and it goes and get what it needs from the flower, thinking it's helping itself, but it's helping the flower because the flower wouldn't be able to reproduce without the bee. It's an attraction going on here where women are keep attracting the man to their vagina. The earth are attracting us to its plants. And that's why I told you the root of all deception lies in our diet. This is the whole thing about GMO food. When you eat food from the earth, the food have a DNA that's downloading a code into your DNA from the cosmos. Women, you were desecrated. And this goddess you looking at is the Venus blowing the crescent moon of the bullhorn. And the reason for that is because it's the moon that teaches us. The moon is the teacher. And so this symbol in her hand became a bitten apple. And today we still give teachers apples to remind them of this desecration of the woman. And it's the biggest blasphemy on earth. Most of the teachers on earth are women. And we give them apples to tell them they dumb. But the bitten apple is the crest of the moon, which was the first teacher. Why was the moon the first teacher? Because it was the phases of the moon that let our ancestors understand the dark forces behind the stars. That's why the moon is the teacher, because its phases taught the ancestors balance. They saw all of the different phases that the moon took. What you see here is the Nation of Islam. They have the moon crest, and that star is not Venus. I know a lot of people say that is Venus, but the Venus concept is because that star is actually Nibiru or Aldebaran, but it comes through a vein. It comes from Venus. In other words, Nibiru or planet X is taking a journey through the woman's uterus. And this right here, what you seeing with all the phases of the moon is all the phase that the fetus take before you manifest out of the womb. And it's also all the phases you take from childhood to seniorship before you leave. And it's also the code of life and death, or what we call infinity. That's why when you look at this symbol that's associated with it, the symbol 8, the moon crest and all of this, Nibiru, the planet X, the vein of Venus, you will see it's as above, so below, meaning polarity, yin yang, opposite sides and attraction. This is the phases of the moon you see here in the goddess. And you can see that the goddess have her arms raised. And you can see this is a Muslim mosque with the goddess moon crest, but that's actually the goddess with her arms raised right here in Islam. And this is the religion of the Dogon. This is the serious religion. We never worship the sun and moon. We worship the darkness that eclipses them both. That's called the mother. The ancestors said it's something that both the sun and moon can't escape, and that's the darkness. The ancestors said it's something that's higher than everything in the sky, and that's the darkness. The ancestors said it's something that we all came from, and that's the darkness. The ancestors said that's something that we all gonna go back to, and that's the darkness. Now you see why they wanted to get you afraid of the dark your whole life. Let me tell you something. My worst nightmare is being in the ocean, and whenever I have it, I immediately know I'm dreaming. It's always a lucid dream. And I believe the reason that my consciousness is making my worst nightmare a lucid dream is so I can face it. That's the only thing I can get out of it. My consciousness knows what I'm most scared of. So when it takes me to the realm of that ocean where I'm most scared of, it gives me the choice to either leave or stay. So I haven't had that dream in a while. I hope that I can have it again and that it still be a lucid dream. Because if I don't know I'm dreaming, I'm going to react like I don't know, and I'm going to be like, oh, I'm drowning. But if you know you dreaming and you make a conscious decision to not be scared and to not wake up, I believe that you will master your dream state and then ultimately master this realm. So the dreams are important. The reality you live when you go to sleep is just as important as the reality you live while you awake. So whenever you find yourself in a lucid dream and you know you dreaming, don't wake up. Go face your fear in that realm, and you will wake up more powerful than you did when you went to sleep. I wanted to share with y'all the importance of dreaming and going to the darkness, creating your world. Your ability to create a dream for yourself at night when you go to sleep is going to play a big role when you die, because you're going to go back to the same darkness you was creating your dreams behind to create an existence for your consciousness to inhabit while your other parts of yourself seek to remerge. When you split, every aspect of you split. Mind, body, spirit, consciousness, and goes into its designated area awaiting to be respawned. And when you say respawn, that became the word respond, meaning responsibility. It's your responsibility to respond to the magnetism, to embrace what you are. And what happens is when you respond, she responds, and you are spawned. And there's a lot of ways we can go with that, because you are physically spun, meaning you're going around in a circle. Because when you leave the flesh, you're spinning. Many people say it's like sliding down a spiral, but that's because they don't see their lives flashing before them. What my belief is that just like we create worlds within the darkness when we go to sleep at night, I think when we die, we create the ultimate reality that is a sum of our entire life. So everything you let enter your mind and psyche while you was alive, good and bad, will create a whole nother world for you when you close these eyes. And it's that world what's going to be like a dream. This is just one of my beliefs, family. Y'all can crucify me for it if you like. But that's one of my beliefs. That when you die, it's like having a dream. Think about it. You always have your dreams from the middle of the dream. You go to sleep and you wake up in this unfamiliar house, but you know everybody. You got people walking around a house. You know, I dreamed I was married with kids, and I'm calling my kids by their name. I'm telling them about homework. My wife cooking breakfast, telling me about work inside of this dream. How did you always know these people? Were you born in this dream and didn't know it and just tuned into it one time at night? How did you have a life already in this dream? It ain't like you had a dream and you dreamed that you was born and you grew up in a dream to reach these points. You automatically open your life up in a dream in the middle of it, and you know all of these strangers. How, people? How is this possible? We create our world from within. Do you know people creating hell for themselves when they close their eyes? The only thing they gonna have is a projection screen, and whatever they took from this life gonna be projected behind the darkness of them eyelids, and it's gonna be either they hell or heaven. So what are we thinking about while we're babies in the womb? Are we having a 9-month dream? Because think about it. I don't remember being in my mama's belly for 9 months. Just like I can spend a week in my dream. Like I've literally had dreams where in the dream I go to sleep and wake up in the dream. If you have a dream and within the dream you sleeping and dreaming, this is a continuum. Multiverse. If you look at the recycle symbol, it's a pyramid. It means death and rebirth. Infinity. And they got y'all scared of the very thing that makes us special. You are an infinite creature, and they got you scared to come in and out of this realm. So the open tune is the daily bread, as you can see here. And this is also why we call this type of food rolls. Why do you call it a roll? The same reason I just told you about the rolling stones, because it's the stone that rolls. When you talk about bakery foods and bread, you're talking about foods used in religion. Like I said, angel food cake, devil food cake. This here is called a donut because it's a double nut. They call this the age of the trumpets. In the Bible, they say all of the trumpets gonna be sounding off at this time. And at this time, we got Donald Trump in office. The trump card is the spade, and the spade is the great mother. The trump is also the trunk of the tree, which is Ma'at, or the serpent. The trump of Ganesh, and also the spade, which is the trump card, or the queen bee, or the bicycle. It's not nothing to do with a bike. I know y'all like to ride bikes. The bicycle is the binary cycle. Going back to the binary code. Remember, you got a recycle bin on your computer desktop, and the symbol for your recycle bin is the symbol of infinity. And what does it shape like? Thank you. A container. What is a container? Something that contains you, sort of like a womb. We're the living water that's being contained in the earth womb. So remember, recycling is actually renewal. That's why it's three of them, three arrows. And that's why it's a triangle, because it's a Trinity angel. You can see a 6-pointed star in the middle. This is the Merkaba. You're the vessel. You're in your Merkaba right now. And when we talk about the word bin, it's spelled B-I-N because of the binary code. And it's a recycled bin because the root word of binary is bend, binary. And it's the same thing when you say bend, like I bent a metal bar. You can spell it B-E-N or you can spell it B-I-N. Either way, it means 10 because 10 is a tent or a triangle. And you have to bend 3 angles to make a tent. And to make that is 10 units. So bend is 10. Think about all about the Benjamins. The binary code is 1 and 0. The dime is the diamond. So the diamond is the diva mound or the pyramid. The dime is silver because of the moon. The dime is silver because of the moon. The quarter is silver because of the moon, and the moon have quarters. All of the coins that are linked to the moon phases are silver. So everything we do ties into cosmology. And I said Ben is B-E-N, it's T-E-N, it's B-I-N, and it's B-E-N-D. It's the bending. The one who bends is the one who weaves the blanket, and that takes us back to Nut. That's who you looking at right now. This triangle, you looking at Nut bent over Gale. All right, that's the binary code, the binary code that binds us to the mother, and you can't escape her vortex. You might as well become fearless and then get more comfortable with your spirit as you is with your body, and see how they both one and become fearless. The most popular videos on YouTube telling you not to astral project, not to open your third eye, to be scared of the dark, and you have to go to it every night. This darkness, that's your womb. You create in your own womb just like your mama created you in her womb. Yes, you have a womb that you can bring forth manifestations from. In fact, the root word of manifestation is man, because we're the manifestors of her. She's the architect. Then we come build a building. We the ones erect the building. We have the erections. So it's the architect and the builder, the great mother and the mason. Men, we are archangels. We protect the womb or the arch. You're no longer archangels because now you destroy the womb. I'm trying to get the man back to being a soldier, and I'm trying to get the woman back to being the most high.